one of the amazing things about the body is that 90+% of all the processes that happen in the body are, I'm sorry, I'm going to pin myself there. 90+% of all the processes that happen in the body happen automatically. You don't think about every heartbeat. You don't think about every um, uh, time your blood vessels widen or narrow down depending on the change in temperature. You don't, that happens automatically. And most of the time, you don't think about your breathing. Here's the thing, we have two major types of, or two major categories in our nervous system. We have the voluntary nervous system, which is our, they call it somatic nervous system, that controls our muscles. That's, you want to raise your hand, you want to put your hand down, you have to um, you have to uh, think about it, even just a little bit, right? You have a um, you have a say in whether you raise your hand or put it down. It's a conscious process. What about breathing? Very interesting. There is a conscious function to your breathing, and I just think that's so fascinating that our breathing muscles, because it's our muscles, we got certain muscles that when they contract, and you know what the big one is, right? Your diaphragm. When your diaphragm contracts, it pulls in air. And when your diaphragm and the muscles around your rib cage relax, it lets the air escape. So while you don't think about your breathing all the time, and sometimes I was thinking about when you blow out, let's say, a birthday candle. Uh, are you really thinking about, oh, I need to take a big breath to blow out this candle? No, you're thinking about blowing out the candle. Like you're thinking about the flame of the candle and whatnot. You're not really thinking, oh, I need to breathe in. It just happens, right? But there are times when breathing intentionally can really improve your health. And we've done some calls about breathing techniques. And one of the techniques we recommended on the call was every hour on the hour, taking 3 deep breaths. Just set your timer. And every time you hear that little reminder, just stop what you're doing or continue what you're doing. It's better to stop so you could just take a break there, little mini break, and take 3 deep, they call deep breaths diaphragmatic breaths, because we can breathe from our diaphragm. That's all getting the air all the way down to the bottom of our lungs versus breathing in our chest, which is what most people do. They're much more shallow breaths, but it's those deep diaphragmatic breaths that really boost up the oxygen exchange and stimulate our parasympathetic nervous system. And really, they have an effect on our health. So I want to go into, besides that, and that's a great little strategy. I hope you're doing it already. But yeah, every hour on the hour, take 3 deep cleansing diaphragmatic breaths. Okay, so um, there was an article in Scientific American that ties in this type of breathing with your health. It's called Proper Breathing Brings Better Health. The subtitle, Stress Reduction, Insomnia Prevention, Emotion Control, Improved Attention. Certain breathing techniques can make life better, but where do you start? And this is a great article. And it talks about studies that show that breathing techniques are effective against anxiety and insomnia. Um, and it starts with the newborns, right? As newborns, we enter the world by inhaling. In leaving, we exhale. In fact, in many languages, the word exhale is synonymous with dying. Breathing is so central to life that's no wonder humankind long ago noted its value not only to survival, but to the functioning of the body and mind, and began controlling it to improve well being. As early as the first millennium BC, both the Tao religion of China and Hinduism placed importance on a vital principle that flows through the body, a kind of energy or internal breath, and viewed respiration as one of its manifestations. The Chinese call this energy qi, and the Hindus call it prana, which is one of the key concepts of yoga. A little later in the West, the Greek term pneuma and the Hebrew term ruah referred both to the breath and to the divine presence. In Latin, in Latin languages, spiritus is at the root of both spirit and respiration. So the importance of breathing not lost at all on our ancestors. The connection, though, of the breathing with the mind and the parasympathetic nervous system is amazing. And there's one other concept that this particular article brought out, and it's something called cardiac coherence. So, a close look at one popular technique, cardiac coherence, offers more detail about the ways that breathing exercises promote relaxation. With the help of biofeedback, the approach attempts to coordinate breathing with heart rate, slowing and steadying breathing to slow and stabilize the heart rate. And let me tell you, the last couple of, I'll say the last 4 days, I've used some breathing techniques to slow my heart rate down. And some of these are really powerful. So I did. So this is a great article. I'll refer you to it because it goes into a lot of detail and it looks at breathing and health from many different sides. So this is Scientific American. Proper breathing brings better health. I did check out healthline.com. You know, I love some healthline.com. And they have an article called 10 Breathing Techniques for Stress Release and More. And that article is from 2019. There's one other article that they have prior to this that also had some breathing techniques. And it was one of the techniques in the second article that I've really been using, and I love it. So here are some of the, I'm just going to list or read this list of techniques. Pursed lip breathing. So, you know, when you purse your lips, you narrow the passageway, which naturally slows down how quickly you can take in or release air. So controlling your breathing with pursed lips has a great effect, especially if you're a singer. But belly breathing, that's another word for diaphragmatic, right? Breath focus. So all of these are techniques, and Healthline goes into each one in detail. Lion's breath, that one is really interesting. Alternate nostril breathing, equal breathing, resonant breathing, Satali breath, deep breathing, humming bee breath. I like the name. And they have many, or they have takeaways for the whole article. Let me read the takeaway. You can try most of these breath exercises right away. Take the time to experiment with different types of breathing techniques. Dedicate a certain amount of time, at least a few times per week. You can do these exercises throughout the day. Check in with your doctor, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so yeah, a lot of these are really, they're well described and they're really interesting, and I do recommend that you try them. So the next article was the 9 best breathing techniques for sleep. And these are the 4-7-8 technique, Brahmari pranayama, the 3-part method, diaphragmatic, that's a repeat from the alternate nasal, that was in the first article, Buteyko method, Popworth method, Kapalbhati exercise, and the box method. And the box method is the one that I have been using. So, and I like the box method because, well, mainly I like the name. And there's a step in ballroom dancing called the box step. So when I do the box method, I think of it as dancing with my autonomic nervous system, you know. So during box breathing, you want to focus intently on the oxygen you're bringing in and pushing out. And there are 4 steps. And box has 4 sides, right? So you sit with your back straight, breathe in, and then try to push all the air out of your lungs as you exhale, because that just gets you started up. You inhale slowly through your nose and count to 4 in your head, filling your lungs with more air with each number. Then you hold your breath with the air in your lungs, count to this 4. Then you slowly exhale, getting all that oxygen out of your lungs. And then you count to 4 with it all out. And you do this in a cycle. I listened to a podcast, or I listened to a interview with a functional medicine doctor, and he recommended doing this 20 times. So that takes doing it 20 times, maybe twice a day, once or twice a day. That takes some time. You have to put some time behind, you know, and you have to focus on the counting and everything. So maybe you work up to that. Like the prior article said, try it 3 times a week to do the box breathing 20 times, or any of these other techniques. So we've got about 15 different breathing techniques that you can try. In addition to, I still recommend taking 3 deep breaths every hour. All right. So, Mr. Hope.
Mademoiselle.
I'm removing my pin. Okay. So, how they work together, the autonomic system and the voluntary nervous system. The diaphragm is like at the intersection of those two. If it's a Venn diagram, the diaphragm is right in the middle of that Venn diagram. And you just got to think, yeah, I mean, why were we given all of these different ways to control our breathing? It's just gives you an idea of how important it is. So we can speed it up, we can slow it down, but most of the time we don't think about it. So breathing intentionally will improve your health.